Well, let's get started on another Train Sim World 3 video. And today, we're going to visit one of the legacy routes, the Clinchfield. I'm going to set the weather. I'm going to have dynamic weather on today, winter weather, and let's put some snow in there. Let's go up to December 23rd, not quite Christmas, and give it a little bit of snow. And let's get started. Get all my switches on here. Lights, headlights, put in the reverser. I always like to have the gauges on. Try to get in the habit of putting on a full application on the train brake, on the independent brake I should say, and release the automatic brake. That allows air to get into the brake system. I'm going to select 2, 3. I have 3 engines with me today. If I'm doing that right, that's why I select 3. We're moving freight, 90 pounds per square inch on the brake pipe. This is a 2-gauge, 3 needles going here, where the red is the your brake pipe, and on the first gauge, and then the reservoir, and then the brake caliper on the second gauge. That second gauge lets you know exactly how much brake pressure you're going with at the moment. So we do have the independent brake on. That's why that we got pressure on that, holding the whole train still. And I like to put on the front numbered lights. Everything there is ready to go. And you couldn't find a better shirt to put on this morning, or what? It's cold out there. Probably could use a little sweat cap. There we go. Get the wipers going. I don't have an agenda today. I just want to enjoy going down hill in the Clinchfield and taking a freight through the mountain run on a snowy morning. And hopefully you'll enjoy. We'll give it a notch or two, and we look at our amp meter to see what kind of see that we got some traction going. And hear the engine revving up. Put it in forward. Now we can get some traction on there. Put on the sand. Should be a little slippery, and release the engine. So that's the typical way I go about doing it. Listening to actual engineers is you're gonna have to release the automatic brake in order to build up the pressure that's needed in the reservoirs. But before you do, you're gonna keep the whole train steady with the independent brake on full. Give it a little traction, and then release the independent brake when you're ready to go. And here we are. It's cold out there, and just get some fresh air in for a moment. And enjoy the ride. Just a light snow so far. This turned out to be a 2-hour run. As I was saying, this turned out to be a 2-hour run. I've edited out about half of it. Yeah, that's enough fresh air. It's getting a little bit cold, so keep those windows closed. I have a few items to talk about today. I don't know, hopefully I have enough time to just let you enjoy the mountain views as we go downhill and not talk as much as I normally would. Not long ago, I was listening to the actual train driver post a YouTube video on Train Sim World 3. Gave his thoughts on what he thought about it. Always good to hear. And he was talking about it's a little tough in a game setting when you do a route for the first time or even a few times. It's not the same as seat of your pants. You're not familiar with the route, and you have, it's hard to tell whether you're going, on a grade going up or a grade going down. And it takes, even in real life, it takes a few times to get to know the road. And so, I mean, if you're out there and you're just doing a timetable and you're not familiar with the route, that's something to think about. You want to get used to the grade. And the other thing he mentioned was that there's no indication really for you in the game as far as the route profile. Now, when you turn the HUD on, you notice I'm running without the HUD. I will occasionally turn it on just to see how far I have before I reach the end of the line. But I love to run without the HUD as much as possible. But when you do turn on the HUD, it does have on the bottom right, along with your speedometer and all, it does give you the grade. And that's very helpful, and it's one of the few reasons why you still need the HUD. Otherwise, you can totally do without it. So if you got familiar with the road and the mountain and the curves and got to know the grade, you can eventually do away with that. But certainly for the first few times, you have to have that HUD on just for that purpose. Here's our route map. And the route map, gives us a good, realistic impression of the kind of curves and what we're going to do. But it also got me thinking about back a few years ago with Train Simulator. You had more of a indication that a grade profile. It was on the very bottom of the screen, so not only you knew what grade you were, kind of grade you were on at the moment, you could see ahead and see if you were going to be going upgrade or downgrade or what. And having a little profile, he mentioned this too in his video, and I thought that was a great idea because it reminded me that Train Simulator still has that, where if you want, you can see the grade profile while you're running, of course. And a little late on the horn. Those back roads, if you're not paying attention, they come up on you quick, coming around the bends and all. So, I don't know, ooh, a little bit of lightning it looked like, and the storm's picking up. Maybe not as light as the snow as it started out. So we're getting into a little bit of a heavier snowfall now. Certainly see it on the glass. It doesn't seem to be matched with the amount of snowflakes you see when you go the external view. Although it is more foggy and it's just obvious it's a little heavier. One thing I noticed when they did the Long Island Railroad, the tunnels look fantastic in Train Sim World 3. There was no indication that they went back and redid anything for these legacy routes that were out and available before Train Sim World 3, like the Clinchfield is. And obviously, it doesn't. To me, it doesn't seem like they've changed much as far as how lit up the tunnel is. It's just dark, if you ask me. And it's a problem they fixed with the new routes, and at least I hope all of the new routes that are not out yet, that are coming out, would have that fix. Anyway, I'm trying to be cautious because I have. You can see now I put this in the dynamic brake, and I put that setting on because I knew when I come out of this tunnel I'd go downgrade. So I got it in brake mode. I'm running out of control now. I'm trying to keep it to 20 to 30 miles an hour. And it looks like I'm up to 50 miles an hour or more. So, gonna give it a little bit of automatic brake, which you can run automatic brake and dynamic brake at the same time. However, when you do, you must release the independent brake. So you notice that I applied the automatic brake and then immediately released the independent brake. The independent brake is on the locomotive, and it will override the dynamic brakes, and in a sense turn off the dynamic brake, the traction. So by releasing it, you're able to continue to use the dynamic brakes as well as having the automatic brakes on all the cars behind us, applying some amount of pressure. Get this thing into control. get the speed down, then you can go ahead and release the automatic brake and just run on the dynamic brakes. Quite a bit of a storm this morning. I was talking about something and I kind of forgot what it was about. Oh, just the tunnels, I guess. So some of the things that we can see that on a legacy route like the Clinchfield that it's operating, its dynamic weather certainly works on all of the legacy routes. Some of the new features are automatic to whatever route you're on. Trying to find that sweet spot for the dynamic brake to keep us going downhill around between 20 and 30. You can see the kick-up particle effect is in play. Quite the storm. And on the amp meter, just like your traction going in normal standard mode, in the braking mode, it shows you how much traction you got in reverse. I kind of wonder how to think about it. It's not like the wheels are going reverse, then you'd have slippage. That's never good. And I think when they say reverse traction, it's more of a drag holding the momentum back. Always like to take advantage of the caboose. Get a guy back there looking back. There's a little bit of a chatter. You know, in the normal throttle settings, you got a nice click between each 1, 2, 3, and 4 or whatever. On the when you put it in the dynamic brake mode, just moving it one click gives a little chatter to it. My window's icing up. You know, if those roads were icy and somebody was coming downhill, they may not be able to stop if a train was coming through. That happened to me when I was a teenager. I was driving in the snow coming down a hill like that. I put on the brake, locked up, and slid it all the way down until I hit the intersection. And luckily, I didn't have any incident. Dark tunnels. A couple other items the Train Sim World 3 has improved on the tunnel lighting for the new routes, of course, and it appears to me, even in the Long Island Railroad, it's improved. But a couple of the other items that I would like to see featured is a time-lapse office. I talked about this almost in every video I put out, but it would really help a career mode. I mean, they have a mode they call Journey, which basically it takes you through your timetable, and if you hit Journey, it just takes you to the next timetable that you haven't already explored. And I think there's even a random selection of any route, any timetable that you hadn't done yet. And that's what Journey does. To me, that's a little bit different than a career. A career is, I got this engine, I got this job. When I finish this route, I can go into an office or I can come back and use this engine again. If I need to fill it up with fuel, I have to fill it up with fuel. None of that stuff is in play unless you keep saving your game. And what do you do at the end of the route? Well, I've always wanted a time lapse where if I go into an office, I can let time go by for 8 hours. And that would be great. I don't know how hard that feature would be. To me, I think it would be pretty easy, instead, or even when it pops you out to the objective completion screen, it gives you the ability to go back and free roam. It should, if it would ask you then if you want an advanced 8 hours or 12 hours or however long. I would love to see that feature. It's one of those features that I hadn't heard anybody else talk about, at least not in the bigger channels where Dovetail's listening to. I certainly don't think they're aware of my channel. My channel is more of a personal channel where I post at a whim and not routinely. A couple, I do hear other channels talk about routes that they would like to see, whether it be Japan or Australia or somewhere other than North America or Europe. But in North America, myself, I would love to see them do a Canadian Rockies route. That would be phenomenal. I would just love that. They did one for Train Simulator, and it'd be great if they did, instead of just 50, 60 miles, do Canadian Rockies and even go, it's Canada, so kilometers. Go ahead and go 200, 300 kilometers through Canada, through the Canadian mountains. It would be awesome. I would imagine a lot of people would like to see that. And it's scenery, it's scenic, it's beautiful. Of course, the Canadian route would offer a lot of opportunity for long haul of heavy freight as well as passenger rides. Well, I'm still here in case you're wondering. Didn't have much of an agenda to talk about today. Just thought maybe you enjoy the blizzard we're going through, and boy, it's quite the storm, I'd say. This is a 2 hour, 2 hour ride from the top of the mountain down, but I edited out at least an hour, I think. But still plenty of windshield time, I would say. Plenty of road time here for you to enjoy. Relax. Maybe terrible outside, but in the cab it's not too bad. I don't know. It looks like it may be letting up a little. Back to just a light flurry. Grab a picture. I've had the opportunity to spend a little time in the Kuhan Pass that I purchased with Train Sim World 3, and I'm quite liking it. And I'm not big on the desert scenery, but it is different, and I always like a challenge, and I always like a little different type of scenery, and I've been enjoying it much more than I originally thought I would. But one of the things I noticed that the Cajon Pass does have some local deliveries. It's not so much part of free roam, but it's part of the timetables. Looks like there's a little bit of light shining through, getting a little brighter out this morning. Yeah, definitely. You can start seeing some shadows. Now, of course, the local delivery timetable is totally scripted, but I gotta tell you, I enjoy it immensely. I'm not sure if I just passed the red marker. Yeah, sometimes you're not paying attention, and once in a while on these routes they'll throw a red signal in. But it didn't kick me out, so I must be okay. But once you throw on the emergency brake, you gotta reset. And here we go again. Look at that sunshine coming through. Wow. Let's get rid of this hut. Isn't that pretty? Nice winter scene. Yeah, I noticed over in the European routes they throw some cattle out in the field, some sheep. It sure would have been fun if they threw a deer here or there, or a bear or something. Some animal wildlife, you know. It'd be fun. You know, they come all of a sudden you see a deer there. And that's part of train life, always watching out for wildlife. Not that you can do anything about it, but I guess it'd be fun to run them over, but no, I'm not talking about that. But some people would enjoy that. I'd hate to see that, but it's part of an engineer's life, though. The old cow pushers. Look at that sky popping out now. Look at that. That's phenomenal. Hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. I noticed that Clinchfield does a little nicer job on the background mountains, making them look realistic in comparison to the Arosa line. Is that I think it's in Switzerland, but I love the Arosa line. It's a passenger line going up the Swiss mountains, but the nearby mountains like this are just awesome looking in the Arosa line, and the ones that are further out, they just look terrible. And boy, if they had done them good, it would have been such an awesome route. But that's a complaint I've heard from many others about it. But I still love it, and you kind of learn to keep your focus on the nearby stuff, and it's really good. I mean, there's no other train simulator out right now that gives you the eye candy like Train Sim World does. But I also noticed there's sections of this route, the Clinchfield, where they're bad. I mean, they're not as beautiful as this. There's I can't remember which arm it is, but that branches off, and when you go down there, it's almost like the Arosa line, where the mountains look like they look fake, and the trees just like they're sticking out of the mountain kind of thing. Something different about it that doesn't look quite right. So I find I never want to go down that path. Yeah, but back to the Calhoun Pass. They do have the one. Well, I think they have 2 local deliveries, and I've explored one, and I was actually very impressed with it. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. You know, you get to do a nearby industry. You know, I think it was like 10, 20 miles up the road to get to it, and then you drop off cars and make deliveries there. That's exactly the kind of thing I want. The only thing I don't like about it is it tells you everything to do. It's completely scripted. But what was the surprise when it's all done and and the objectives are complete, you go into that screen. You can say free roam, and when I went into free roam, I was able to hang around and mess and actually get on another engine that was located nearby, off the main road, and it had a bunch of cars there, and I started, cutting them loose and moving them around, and that was fantastic. So there's definitely some opportunity that's available to you in the Coogan Pass for local deliveries. And there's another one I think that's scripted in the timetable. I hadn't went and explored it myself as of yet. I'm in the process of doing that now. I find what I do is, boy, isn't this so pretty? I end up making a different profile. Of course, this doesn't help you much if you're trying to do achievements and build on points. But I make a different profile for each route. And that way I can do a save. And sometimes it works where, I can do a save right where I'm at here in Clinchfield and then go into another profile and pick up where I left off on a different route. Have multiple saves that way, because it doesn't let you do multiple saves. Like I can't save here, then 10 minutes later save down the road and then come back here again. But there's no opportunity for that. This is so nice. Maybe I'll be quiet for a few minutes. What a different feeling this is. After coming down from the top of the mountain and being in such a heavy storm, it's like a breath of fresh air. It's the sky opened up, and it gives you a kind of a cheerful feeling. I'm thinking of putting together a video on using the scenario planner. I've used it a few times, and I find it a little bit cumbersome. It's not intuitive to me, at least. Maybe it's my American mindset that doesn't think quite the same. I don't know, but I struggled with it, and then I'm starting to figure things out, and I like to share what I've learned. There's some limitations to it, like you can't select two different engines to be your pilot, and when you select an engine, it tells you what consists, what trains can go with it, and you have to choose from a selection of different types of trains that can go with that engine, even if you're in the off the rails mode. And it's also limited to what routes you can do and what timetables you can do. Anyway, I've figured out some ways to overcome those limitations and plan on sharing them. Some little tips and tricks that I've come across. Some of the things that would be wonderfully helpful in a scenario planner is, and actually in the regular game too, if we had a more detailed map. Like back in Train Simulator, and if you look at the map, it'll tell you what the track numbers are. If it's track 4, 5, 6, 7, and when you look at the route map here, you don't get that. There's actually two maps, the one I showed earlier, and which is more of a realistic overlay, and then if you hit the escape key, you can get a chart, and well, I guess that's the one I was looking at, and then it has some locations on it, but the 9 button would give you the current map with the tracks and the points, and you can switch the points there, but it doesn't tell you the track numbers. So in one sense, it doesn't tell you the locations and the track numbers. Then you go out with the escape key to figure out the location. That's a little cumbersome too. And when you're doing it in the scenario planner, it sure would be nice to know the track numbers. But anyway, I got a lot of thoughts on that and a lot to talk about. So that'll be another video, and as I go through. And I downloaded that paint from the Santa Fe F7, and it's got a limitation. There's no passenger cars, and it tells you to use modern day box cars. And I got some workarounds for that, and I'd like to share all that. So that'll be coming up in a few weeks, I hope, when I do another video. And that would be specifically on overcoming scenario planner limitations. In fact, what I do is I use the Santa Fe paint scheme on the F7 out in Kuhan. Well, actually, I don't even use the Kuhan Pass. I use what is it called? The Peninsula over there by San Francisco. If you happen to have that route. Kind of a passenger route that has some freight on it too. But I use the Santa Fe on that route, Santa Fe paint scheme F7, and I'm pulling these boxcars, these 1970s Clinchfield boxcars with it. So I'll show you how all that's done. One of the big complaints about that paint scheme is, it doesn't look right if you pull in modern day boxcars. Some people argue, well, there's still this few of them around. I understand both views on that. Pretty much, if you want that paint scheme, you really kind of want the 1970s look. What's interesting too about this route is it's definitely a 1970s route. When you look at the cars and the trucks and the vehicles and the buildings, they're all 1970s. And, I don't know if it's even possible for them to add in a scenario planner a way to use the 1970s vehicles on one of the other routes. I mean, not that I know of right now, but I don't even know if it's something that they can add in. Looking for that postcard. As you can see, we're getting towards the end now. It's at first, when we first started out, we had to gain control over the going downhill with the automatic brake. But once we started to gain control, from then on, pretty much, were able to use the dynamic brake to take us all the way down, keep it within the reasonable speed. Less than 3 miles to go. Stay with me. Just about there. That's kind of funny. I don't know if you guys are hearing this, but in the background, a lawn service has come to do my neighbor's yard. And it tickles me because, you know, they come, once a week, and the last time I did a recording, it happened to be on that day. I should figure out what today is. And yeah, I should consider what day it is and maybe not record on this day anymore. But I got the mic sensitivity set. Hopefully you're not hearing it. Pretty shots here, huh? It's amazing how beautiful the scenery is here. And I've been driving this Clinchfield for a while, and I've always done it in the, in the summer and autumn time. And it's really pretty in the snow. I do not sense any difference in the horn sound when going in and out of a tunnel. Now, if you don't know, if you pull up your HUD using the F1, you can get rid of it using F1 and pull it back up. You can also, using the control 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 keys, control what's on the HUD. And so I like to see how far I got to go and yet keep the speedometer and the other information in the lower right hand corner. Control 5 will take that away from me. And then just use F1 to bring up the top of the screen there that gives you how far we are to go here. So we're getting real close now. Like I said, this was a 2-hour journey. At least I think it was a little bit more. But I edited out a good hour of it. But I enjoyed it immensely the whole time. You don't have to have a lot of miles of track to run for a couple hours. And I think that's what, Dovetail is considering. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it would be nice to have a few hundred miles of track for those occasions where you want to run long distance. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts about this excursion, things you like, and maybe even if you have some information about any of the stuff that I talked about. I'm always open for comments of information and helps. Because there's a lot of you out there that know more than I do, and certainly everybody can learn from each other. Well, without a doubt, this has been a pleasure being with you again, and hopefully you enjoyed it as much. And enjoy the rest of the ride. We'll catch you next time.